Hi there, I'm Steve Grimmett from the Zurich Community Trust team, and I want to spend a few moments talking to you about safeguarding and photography. Zurich Community Trust recognises that everyone has the right to live in safety, free from abuse and neglect. We are committed to keeping the welfare of any child or adult at risk who is involved with any of our activities paramount, and to ensuring that everyone who we're involved with is safe, valued, listened to and respected. Safeguarding is everyone's responsibility. Everyone engaged with any ZCT brokered activity is responsible for ensuring that children and adults at risk are safe. So how do we define children and adults at risk? We consider any individual aged under 18 to be a child. Adults at risk are those who are aged over 18, who are in need of care and support services, and because of these needs are unable to protect themselves against abuse or neglect. An adult may be vulnerable due to age, a mental health condition, learning disability, physical or sensory impairment, or significant illness. An adult may also be at increased risk of vulnerability due to drug or alcohol dependencies. We must remember that when we are working with children or adults at risk, we're acting in positions of trust. Employees of Zurich and volunteers are far more likely to be seen as role models by children and adults at risk, and we must act in an appropriate manner at all times. The Trust does have a code of conduct when working with children and adults at risk, and you'll find a copy of that in the Challenge Toolkit, along with our policy which details the steps you need to take should you have any concerns. Now, the sort of things that we're talking about in the code of conduct are: you must ensure that your contact with children and adults at risk is only strictly in connection with your challenge project or other agreed volunteering task. Please listen to children and adults at risk and show them respect at all times. Avoid favouritism, treat them fairly and without prejudice or discrimination. And use language that is appropriate to age and ability and that is not offensive or discriminatory. Ensure that where you're volunteering involves working with a child or an adult at risk, that there is more than one adult present during these activities, and be close to where others are working. And if a child or adult at risk specifically asks to spend time with you, respectfully redirect them to someone in authority within the organisation that the person is connected to. And make certain that you respect a child or adult at risk's right to personal privacy. So those are some of the things that you must do. Here's just some of the things that under no circumstances must you ever do. Never conduct a sexual relationship with a child or adult at risk or indulge in any form of sexual contact. You must not develop inappropriate relationships such as contact with children or adults at risk. And you should never do things of a personal nature that the child or adult at risk is capable of doing themselves. And you must not administer any medication unless qualified and authorised to do so. Also, never let children or adults at risk have your personal contact details. And never make sexually suggestive, derogatory or insensitive comments or gestures in front of children or adults at risk, or act in any way that could be perceived as threatening or intrusive. Now, if your volunteering is in a school or college, then it's important that you read Part 1 of the Keeping Children Safe in Education guidance. A copy of this will be supplied to you by your ZCT contact, but if for whatever reason you haven't received it, then please do ask us for a copy. Let's now turn to photography. More photos are being taken now than ever before, as so many people have a camera with them wherever they go in the form of their phone. But not everyone should have their picture taken, and not everyone wants or likes to have their picture taken. Or even if they do have their picture taken, are they happy to have it shared on social media? We must respect that. So in the Trust, what we've done is come up with an updated policy this year that relates to photography and video recordings. Now, we all heard a lot last year about GDPR and consent, and photography is no exception to that, in that images or video footage are covered by that same legislation. Now, we do want to make certain that we can share those happier moments that you perhaps take on a challenge day with a wider audience, but there's some things that we need to be thinking about first. What we've come up with is a 4-stage approach in terms of consent. So, first, if a photo or video footage is being taken of an individual Zurich employee, the person taking the photo or video needs to verbally state what the photograph or video will be used for and where it will be shared, and asks if anyone has any objections. Second, if a photo or video footage is being taken of an individual person not a Zurich employee, either the individual or their carer, parent or guardian must be asked to sign Zurich Community Trust photography and video consent form, the details of which can be found in the Challenge Toolkit, and that must be done before any photos or video footage is taken. Thirdly, if it's a group shot of children or adults at risk, the person taking the photo or video must check with the organisation who the children and adults at risk are connected with, whether that organisation have the appropriate permissions enabling photos and video footage to be taken and, importantly, shared with Zurich Community Trust. If not, everyone, including carers, parents and guardians, need to sign a Zurich Community Trust photography and video consent form. And finally, if it's a group adult shot, not involving adults at risk, the person taking the photo or filming needs to verbally state what the photographs or video footage will be used for and ask if anyone has any objections. Now that deals with consent. What I'd like to move on to now are some of those extra considerations that you need to think about when photographing or videoing a child or adult at risk, even one where you've got consent. Now, whilst you may have got a consent form, always please make sure that the child or adult at risk is happy to be photographed. Get their permission as well. That's really important. Next, photography or video recording should really focus on an activity or a small group, not a particular child or an adult at risk. So please remember that. And also, children and adults at risk should not be identified by name or any other personal details, so please ensure that any name badges are removed before taking any footage. And do not use any children's names in captions accompanying the picture, so if a child or adult at risk is named, avoid using that picture or video footage and just delete it. And please only use images of children in suitable clothing to reduce the risk of inappropriate use. Sadly, some activities, for example swimming, drama, fancy dress, present a much greater potential for misuse. And never ever store even approved images of children on personal mobile devices, tablets, laptops, storage devices or camera. So, lots to take in there, and as I say, more details of this can be found in the Challenge Toolkit. Please do make certain that in advance of, say, your challenge day or other volunteering activity, that you spend the time to go through all of this detail with your team, so everyone knows what is expected of them, what is it that they need to do, what is it that they mustn't do, to make certain that everyone has a safe and enjoyable day. Thank you very much.